Bitcoin is worthless artificial gold, which, if it succeeded, would facilitate a lot of illicit activity. Now, that is not something I think the world needs. I think it's a scumball activity.
Oh, no, he didn't.
What is it about Bitcoin that gets you guys so fired up?
Well, when you buy a farm, you look at the crop every year and what prices are, and you decide whether it was a satisfactory investment. I mean, you look to the asset itself and what it produces for you. When we buy a business, we look at what the business earns and decide how we feel about it in terms of what we paid. But we are buying something that at the end of the period, we not only have what we bought in the first place, but we have something that the asset produced. And when you buy non-productive assets, all you're counting on is whether the next person is going to pay you more because they're even more excited about another next person coming along. But the asset itself is creating nothing.
So Warren Buffett, the greatest investor of our time, of our generation, doesn't like Bitcoin. For many people, that's mind-blowing. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he couldn't see where Bitcoin is coming from as an experienced investor. But I also see why he doesn't get it. That's not Warren. It's not him. He hasn't built a fortune of over $100 billion over 55 years by not sticking to his investment ethos and his investment instincts. I mean, this is a guy that at age 6 bought a 6-pack of Coke from his granddad's store, sold it in school to his friends to make profit. This is the guy who made his first investment, his very, very first investment at age 11. The first company that he bought was a company called City Service Preferred. He bought that at $38 a share. That share price went from $38 to $27. He didn't sell. He didn't panic. He sold at some point once the share price had recovered at $40, only to kick himself when he found out that he sold at $40, but the share price rallied to $200. The lesson there from a very young age that he learned was, number one, be patient, never panic. The stuff that we talk a lot about in the investing world. And that has shaped his investment philosophy his entire career. He is a value investor. And as a value investor, he's not speculative. He's not contrarian. He's looking at companies like Coca-Cola. He's looking at companies that have a strong client base, a good competitive advantage, a monopoly almost within their sector or their industry, good cash flow, good balance sheet, preferably paying dividends because he likes his dividends. Those are the kind of companies that he's looking for. He's not speculative. Bitcoin is speculative. So it is contrary to everything that he learned from when he was 11 years old. He was never, ever, ever going to understand Bitcoin. So in his annual letter to his shareholders in 2020, this is on page 1. So get ready for this because the numbers are mind-boggling that I'm about to share with you here. And let me know in the comments if you thought these numbers were going to be as large as what I'm about to say. But anyway, annual shareholders meeting, the letter 2020. On page 1, he basically outlined and compared the performance of the Berkshire Hathaway Holdings investments since 1965 to 2020. He compared that with the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 index, which is the top 500 indexes of companies in America. And these are the numbers. So between 1965 and 2020, the S&P 500 returned 23,454%. Now, what did the Berkshire Hathaway Holdings do? Hang on to your seats for this. And again, you can go and check this out and verify this. So between 1965 and 2020, Berkshire Hathaway returned 2,810,526%. That is not a typo. Now, those numbers are incredible. And I think if you are in a wealth creation phase, and this is really, again, the question that I want you guys to think about as we head into the Bitcoin numbers and thinking about the impact that Bitcoin could potentially have over the long term. 2 million, over 2.8 million% over 55 years is a phenomenal return. It completely and utterly dwarfs the S&P 500, which is a vehicle that a lot of us invest in. I've got money invested in. It's a really good vehicle. But the skill that Warren has in terms of being able to pick research companies, that is the reason why he's been able to generate 2.8 million% return. You need skill set, you need teams, you need research in order to be able to achieve that. Most of us don't have that team, that research capabilities. Most of us don't have the ability, the know-how to be able to do that. And this brings us very nicely onto the Bitcoin numbers, because Bitcoin has only been around, it's only been traded since 2009. The first time it was traded at 0.08. You fast forward to today and you see where the values are. And if you just do a quick cursory search of Bitcoin versus the S&P 500, this is a graph right here. You can't even start to compare what the performance essentially is. Now, this is the performance of Bitcoin since 2009, since it was first traded, to today. The performance, 71,691,450%. I had to use a calculator to this just to verify, and I worked it backwards as well. So Bitcoin over the last 12 years, and this is the big thing, Warren Buffett between 1965 and 2020, 2,810,526%. Bitcoin in 12 years, since 2009, returned 71,691,450%. Someone asked me on a live this week on Wednesday, should I be invested in crypto? And my response was, you have higher risk not being invested in it than actually invested in it at this point because of where it is going to go. If you haven't watched the video on Tuesday, go and watch the video on Tuesday, because we are entering into a new piece of territory now, where if the SEC approve these Bitcoin ETFs in the States through November and December, you're going to see institutional money pile into Bitcoin. 65,000, I said it would get there by the end of the year if that happens. I'm quite confident in that. Again, don't take my word for it. That's just how I feel based on what I know and based on the volumes that I know that are sitting in the industry that I've worked in for quite some time now. Beyond that, next year, if the SEC approve these November, December, then you've got Europe, then you've got UK, regulatory bodies that will start to have a look at this a lot closer. And then you get into the big realms of getting potentially pension funds also plowing money into Bitcoin as a way to diversify. And I guess I'm going to leave you guys with a question. Where do you think the Bitcoin price is going to be in the next 10 years? Is it 100,000? Is it 500,000? Do you think it's going to be more than that? Do you think it's going to be 700,000? Let me know in the comments. The point is, and the question really that you should ask yourself is, are you participating? Obviously, invest what you can afford to lose, because crypto is still volatile. You can't get around that. That is just a fact. Invest what you can afford to lose, but try to at least get a little bit of exposure into cryptos, into Bitcoin, to make sure you've got the ability to actually participate in what potentially is going to be life-changing technology that will really change the distribution of wealth in this country. But guys, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe, like the video as well, share and comment. That will help me out massively. I wonder if Warren Buffett at any point in the next 10 years, if Bitcoin goes absolutely nuts, will sit back and think, maybe I got that wrong. I mean, he's worth $100 billion, so maybe not, but who knows, right?